Okay, how's everybody doing? So this is the barge slip now, and I'll say it again, it's 95% done. I say that all the time. Well, you know what? You'll find that you will be saying that all the time with your layout, because layouts, and I know it's a cliche, they're never done. There's always that 5% that you call or label as Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so the last 5% could be huge is what I mean. So yeah, so you can see the light standard poles there. There's a lot of vertical scenery now. There's the poles, there's or utility poles, whatever, signals, trees, right? Now there's still a few things I've been saving these little kiosks. They go on the side here. They're both different, by the way, and one of them goes over here. Look, I added a little fire extinguisher. Like, it just goes on and on. That's what I mean. Last 5% can be, you know, huge, right? So what I'll do is I'll show you a shot when the lights go down. I have to set it up though, because night shots, just like in film, are never night shots. If you've ever been on a film set and you see a night scene, it's bright as day almost. So you can see the little beacon right here. I'll show you that, so you get to see that. That I'm putting on a separate switch. I have a main switch for, all the lights. Okay, and then I'm going to slave this to a separate switch, because I just would put that on when the ferry's docked up, and in case I'm doing any kind of operations at the back, on the main back there switching, I wouldn't need to have that beacon on, but I would probably still light up the ramp, because it really looks cool. Okay. Okay, how's everybody doing? So I just want to talk to you about lamp stands and standards and such on these barge ramp towers. Now, let me just give you a little bit of context. These were the first models I built on River Road. I built at the very beginning of section 1 and basically knocked these off first. And when I built them, I decided to scratch build them all and the light stanchions long before I've wired them. I mean, it's 3 years later, right? You know, 2 steps forward, 1 back, vice versa. And I found, like, I knew lighting would be near the end. So for section 1, I want to try to get a lot of the lighting done. However, the problem is finding LEDs that run, that are the right size and the small enough wire. You can use magnet wire, but it's nice to have this red and black wire. But to find them without capacitors with a long lead like that, so you don't have to mess around with soldering and splicing. And I just don't want to do that at this point. Now, there's a couple of things that occurred this week. I went and picked up these Atlas single arm square lights, right? And I'm really happy because I need 6 for the barge ramp, like the ramp and the approach. And these are exactly the height that I need in the same square heads. Isn't that great? But when I made my own, that was before these even came out. Pretty much, I think. Like, I don't think these have been out for more than, well, unless I've been out of touch or not paying attention. I think these are maybe been out for 3 or 4 years now. But anyway, So I picked these up, and then I realized that if I pull them apart, and they do come apart, you can work them apart fairly easily with a pick. Okay. If you just work the head on both ends gently, the heads pop off, and then you can slide the whole LED and the wire right out, which is really good. You know why? Because I'm going to use these for these, and then on the ones that I'm going to use for the barge ramp, I need to pull the wire to cut this off. I don't want to mangle the wire because these are ugly and they're metal, and I got to get rid of those because I built new stands. And this pops off too, these bottom ones. If you work them back and forth, they also come off. So these would be perfect. And I can also angle these when I put these heads back on. I can angle them like the prototype, like that, instead of them being at a right angle. Once you pop them off, you can re-glue them on an angle so that they shoot the light, you know, sort of to the center of the ramp. So I'm really happy about that. And I'm also happy about the length of these. I'll have to sacrifice 4 of them, but that's okay. They're cheap enough. I think I pointed these out. They were like $14.50 for 3. So I picked these up at Inner City Trains and Hobbies. They got a whole whack of them in, but I was told that it's the last order that they could get. So I'm not sure what the deal is there. There's ones with single heads, double heads, and 4-way heads. So you might want to check that out and get a pack or 2 if you plan to do lighting down the road in your layout. Some people will say that lighting is overrated, but it's not overrated when the sun goes down on your layout. You know, if you operate in low light conditions, lighting is awesome. So that's good because that problem is solved, right? Because you're always going to have problems and there's always a solution, and there's my solution. Because look at the length I have out the bottom of this pipe, see? All the way up to here. Okay, so just in closing, let me just show you how I made these quick. So if you want to make your own, they're not that hard to do. Like you can get this brass and aluminum from K&S. So here's square brass tube that's hollow. Okay, 8149, square brass tube. Here's round aluminum tube, 8100, which is really small, like great for HO and O. Like it's great. Like these are great if you make these in O as well. You can probably make them in N with this. This is only 1 millimeter and it's hollow if you use magnet wire. Okay. All right. And then for plastic, I use this. So I use the H column for making the head. Like the heads on these, I'll show you. I just cut a piece of like it's H column, kind of like I-beam, and I just cut a section like that long. And then I just drill a hole and just poke this up through, and then you can cap the top. Pretty simple to make, really, if you don't mind fiddling around. And then here's, you know, there's different solid stock for stanchions, and then right angle. So the right angle is for these here. See these? If you're making these, or if you're making these ones here. It's all evergreen stock, right? See, that's why I like these, because they just, basically, I'll just show you this. So once this is wired, then they just slip into these fixed stanchions that I scratched already on these towers. And then I basically have my tower, and then I can put plugs on the ends of these, the little micro plugs by Evans, which I love. And then I can run a bus. So if I want to lift these out of the way or take the whole move the layout or whatever, just unplug them. I don't have to cut wires, right? And if I need to get a camera in, like I often do, I need to move these out of the way a lot. So I just want to be able to unplug them, okay? So light stanchions, right? And these are great for commercial. You know, you can repaint them too. And then just one other thing in closing. Some of them have this sort of ugly dimple on the side. Maybe that's part of the reason why they're cheaper. See that? See the dimple? If that's a deal breaker for you, you can fill that. You can sand that and fill it, or you can sand it and just cap it with some 10-thou strip and then repaint them and you'll never know. And it makes it nice and flush. Okay? Okay, just want to show you a quick clip or so of just painting these lamp standards. So I'm going to use this XF12 JN gray. I really like this gray, like JN, this Japanese navy gray by Tamiya acrylic, right? IPA I thin it with. And it's a warm gray, okay? Warm gray, not a cool gray, warm, right? It has a sort of a warm tint to it. So you can see that I have the lamp standards here. These were the ones that I didn't angle the top bezel. I'm just angling the top bezel ones up a bit that face like the viewer this way, so it shines more to the center of the barge slip on the track. Okay, and then these are on the other side, so when I'm staring at the layout, if I'm running night ops or whatever, these aren't tilted up blaring in my face. I like LEDs, but I don't like it when they're, you know, pointing at me. They're quite, like, they irritate me when they're like that. Like, I like them just to shine on the subject. But anyway, you can see that I'm going to paint these all gray, and then I'm going to mask off and paint the top black, okay, like the prototype is. Now, I don't want to get gray paint all over this nice black, like this is shrink tube, they're very thin, like it's a nice black conduit, and I want to keep it like that actually. If I'm going to make a compromise, that I will. It just looks like a black rubberized conduit for, you know, like water, like marine use, right? They generally do that. Okay, so I don't want to get gray paint on there, so I'm going to slide this larger shrink tube. It goes over the plug, see? And I'm going to slide this over like that, and then just pinch it off at the bottom, and then I'm just going to grab my paint, and then I'm just going to, I can paint the bottom of it when I pull the tube away, like by hand, because you won't see it anyway. But that just allows me to keep that part clean. Okay, there, done, eh? See? And then I'll do the top. I'll just mask off and do that black, okay? I mean, that beacon just almost snaps into place. I'll put a little bit of canopy glue, I'll pull it out again, and then just with a little tiny brush and just pop it back in so that it doesn't get knocked off or fall away and get lost. Now, here's where you get lucky in this hobby, and this will happen when you're in it long enough. So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. So when I built this, I had no idea about this. Like, this wasn't even invented yet. Probably, like, unless they made these 3 years ago and I didn't know about them. So now that that's all mounted, I don't want this hanging out in the wind, this little PC board here that actuates the beacon. And it's got to go under the barge slip. So what I'm going to do is take the remaining part of this magnet wire, and I'm going to shove this little board up in there, and I'll just put a little piece of tape in there or something to hold it in place. And then this will go like that, see? Right? So when this is set up, and then I'm just going to attach this Evans Design, this nice plug, and the wire, like, it's great. Like, look at the extensions here I have too, right? Like, I love that stuff for this. And then this wire is the same gauge, so I'll just use a little bit of black shrink tube to attach that. And this will be all, like, I'll put a black shrink tube around there so it blacks out and hides under the barge slip. And this goes to the back side and plugs into the 5-way. Okay. How's everybody doing? So I just wanted to show you where they're going to go, or actually what's happening here. So to give greater context, here's the barge slip. So you can see all the entrails, the intestines hanging out all this wiring, see where it's comes from, like here's the main power here, and then I added a plug here. I like plugs. I know they're points of resistance, but they're only LEDs, and there's only, I don't know, 12 or 14 of them, but I like it clean and tidy. Because just to explain, because this, like, see right here, like this tongue and groove in here, like this whole barge slip slides right out. There's one stove bolt underneath the layout. I won't go under there now because the lighting's not that great, but so if I ever move this layout, like I can, like these come off, like these will have, like those don't have lighting, but these will, and I want to be able to unplug them and remove them. If I want to get the camera in here, I need to shift them out of the way. That's why I didn't lock them in with resin, you know, ugly resin, like epoxy resin. But anyway, so I can slide this whole slip off, move this whole barge slip assembly and components safely. And then when I unbolt this actual section, I should just point that out quick here. You know, like this line here, there's 3 bolts underneath. Like if I ever have to move it, all these buildings pop off and move, and you know, you reduce the damage, right? Okay, so just quickly, so these, let me get the glare out of the way. So those by Atlas there, those are the shorties. They look like this, and the problem is I broke off several of these. Like I really like these, I made these. Okay, but I've broken off several because once again, this is a bit of a production layout too, like social media layout. I mean, right? So you're always going in like this with the camera, right? You're going like this, and you're knocking things, flagpoles down, and believe me, right? Like when you shoot 600 videos, you're going to have damage. So I want to reduce it. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these ones. Like see the metal? There's metal bars in there, and the heads look almost identical to the ones I made, and they're way in the background, and I want to light up that warehouse too. So okay, so I've set up this shot just like you would in film. Okay, if anyone who's been on a live set on film, when they're doing a night shot, it's like daylight. Like it's at night, but there's so many lights, huge lights everywhere, and then they dial them back to try to get, you know, the camera ISO lighting properly. They're really difficult to do. Like if you're live, well, it's a completely different story. It looks unbelievable. So I have to cheat it a bit. So before I turn these lights on, I'll show you what happens if you show it really dark. Okay, so this angle, I'll have to change the camera, but you get an idea, but it doesn't look at all like this live. It looks unreal, actually, live, to be honest with you, but that's the beauty of the human sentient and the eye and live view, right? With cameras, you got to do all kinds of trickery to get it to work, to express it the way you would see it if you were standing here. But anyway, I'll shoot it from a different angle, okay? Okay, so it doesn't it doesn't look like much, right? Because it gets really grainy, because you can't get anything in view like lit up. So here's the lights when I turn them on. See, all the deck lights come on. There's the beacon light there and the local lights. And when I turn on the rear, if I can do the rear lights, you might not see. I'll try to flick them on here. Hold on. Like that's the background lights. If you can see some of them come on. But when you're standing here live, like it looks unbelievable. It really does. And when the ferry's docked up and all the lights spot shining down, it really does look stunning, right? Now, here's the thing in closing. Lights are, if you're not into it, then don't do it, right? Like, because it is a lot of work and it is an added expense to your layout. However, when you do it, it takes your layout to a whole nother level, right? Like in terms, like even for operations, because I know they do night ops too with barge loading and stuff as well. Otherwise they wouldn't have lights on the deck, right? Because you don't need them during the day. So yeah, okay, so there it is. The deck's all lit up, and really, really happy with the way things turned out. If I can find another one of these beacons right here, I'll probably put one on the other side on the top of that control box, because that's the way the prototype is. But hey, it is what it is. Everything's incremental, right, to get to the goal. Okay, so thanks for watching. Happy modeling, and I hope that you have a great day.